Congresswoman Demings.
Sherri Shepherd.
I'm so happy to see your face.
It is so good to see your face again. Thank you for just being wonderful. And thanks for waiting on me tonight.
No.
Some
I'm
things
gonna wait
are just
on
meant
you.
to be.
I'm gonna wait on you because I'm getting ready to wait on you if you're gonna be vice president or Supreme Court justice. I'm ready to wait. I'm just saying I like to manifest things out into the
what you say, call those things that are not as if they were.
That's if they were.
Okay.
So you know, and I'm gonna go back, I'm gonna go to that point. I'm very excited about asking you a lot of questions about what we're going through today. And then I want to just ask some questions about you, just as a woman, because I admire you so much. I just wanted to, your resume is amazing. Now, what should I call you? Representative Demings, Congresswoman Demings?
Let me say this. I will answer to both of those because I have been called worse. So you can call me. You can call me whatever you want to, but
you my sister. So I'm giving you the utmost respect. I just love the fact that you have 7 brothers and sisters.
I have 6 brothers and sisters. I'm the youngest. So you know what that was like. 4 brothers, 2 sisters. So you know.
So right then you used to fighting for everything, huh?
I had to fight. I had to fight for food. I had to fight for clothes. I had to fight for toys. I had to fight for everything.
And look at you.
But my siblings also fought for me too. They would fight me, but they would fight for me. I guess that's what family does.
That's what family does. And and how awesome that you got that experience as a 10-year-old, because now you're fighting for us, which we so appreciate.
You know what? And that's such an honor. I guess I was prepared for a time such as this. My brothers and sisters didn't know it, but they were preparing me.
You sure were. And out of 6 siblings, you were the first to go to college.
You know, Sherri, when we think about what it means to live in this country, because we love to talk a lot about the American dream and how America's the greatest country in the world, the land of opportunity. When I look at my life, the daughter of a maid and a janitor, youngest of 7 children, the first to go to college, and had the awesome opportunity to work as a social worker, serve as the chief of police, and now a member of Congress on some pretty cool committees. I think that is the epitome of what the American dream is supposed to look like, even for a poor Black girl who grew up in the South. And so we've got to create those opportunities for others. And that's my number 1 responsibility as a member of Congress. It's a blessing.
But, you know, Congresswoman, before you even became a member of Congress, you have so many accomplishments. The one thing I want to ask you, because you were selected to serve as the chief for the Orlando Police Department, the first woman to hold that position. And then you launched this all-out war against crime. You had a dramatic 40% reduction in violent crime, including robberies, shootings, and murders. Being a woman, that's a man's playground.
Yes, it is.
Chief of police. How, I need you to speak to sisters out here who are watching you. How are you a woman in a man's world?
Sure, let me tell you something. And to everybody who's listening, there can't be anybody out there who is listening who believe that was easy to do. It is a non-traditional role. I started out as an officer working midnight shift. And when I was hired by the Orlando Police Department, it was really the first time, although we had women who had been hired before me, it was really the first time that the department had taken a serious effort to hire women. And so it was one of those things where the world was changing, but were the hearts of man really changing fast enough? It was one of those things I believe that the department realized they had to do, but didn't necessarily want to do. But I was determined. I believe, you know, I started out as a social worker working with foster care children, working with broken children and broken families. And so when I became a police officer, I went to the police department with a social worker's heart. I have 3 Black sons.
Yes, how old are they?
And so I saw that as an opportunity to really get it right? To understand that we could not arrest our way out to creating a better society. that as we fought crime, we also had to deal with those social ills that cause decay in communities in the first place. Lack of education, lack of health care,
Yeah.
lack of housing, all of those things. And so I was a police chief with a social worker's heart. We sponsored GED programs. We started a youth mentoring program called Operation Positive Direction. We did a lot of things that were not in the traditional world of policing. But it is because we were able to bring the community and the police together and really help to change the hearts, I think, and the minds of the officers in terms of what it really took to improve communities and make them better. That we were able, working together, to celebrate a 40% reduction in violent crime.
So, Congresswoman, because I'm a mother of a Black son, he's 15 years old. He's got his unique challenges, but he sounds like a cross between Shaq and Peter Brady from singing It's Time to Change. Mommy, mommy. And as a mother, I worry about my son all the time going out there. You see these videos of police officers, violent stuff happening. How do you suggest, what do we do to change the hearts and the minds of, and I'm not saying all police officers are bad.
That's right.
There's some really good eggs in
That's
in the police department.
That's
but
right.
From what I'm seeing a lot, it's disheartening.
Sherri, we know the overwhelming, look, right now, as we are speaking right now, there are thousands of police officers who are out there doing the job, and they do that every day.
Yeah.
We know the overwhelming majority are good, decent people. However, there are some bad ones. And I do believe getting to where you were talking about starts with hiring. We have to hire the brightest and the best. We have to hire people who not only have the mind to do the job, so they'll make good decisions, but also who have the heart for the job. Police officers wear their badge over their hearts. And we wear the badge over the heart as a constant reminder that you have to have the heart to do the job, that these are people that we're dealing with. And whether they're the victim, the witness, or the suspect, everybody belongs to somebody. Everybody has a mother, a father, a family who loves them.
Yes.
And so we have to make sure as law enforcement officers that we are doing the right thing. Look, we can hold them accountable because, you know, I certainly believe in accountability. But we also should lead people with dignity and respect. I used to ask the men and the women who worked for me to think about if someone that they loved, one of their loved ones, was on the side of the road with a law enforcement officer. And I would ask them to think about if their loved one was right or wrong. How would they want their loved one to be treated? And then I would say, once you have that image in your mind, understand that that is the only level of service that is acceptable for this agency, because everybody is loved by somebody. And so policing with a social worker's heart, understanding we couldn't arrest our way out of, understanding it's people that we're dealing with. Everybody deserves to be treated with dignity and respect. You know, and so in terms of my sons, I was like, y'all better go out there and do the right thing, right? But understanding that getting it right begins with hiring the right people. Hiring people to police African-American, Black and brown communities who look like us. You know, we fought for those, people died for those rights, for us to be able to hold the positions that we have. And so making sure that we hire the right people. And by hiring the right people, we can increase our odds that the outcomes will be right.
I don't know who may be saying Biden Demings for the nominee pit. Whoa. I'm just saying, you know, I'm gonna keep manifesting that. You are in Congress now, and you were one of the first African-American women on the impeachment committee. You made history. Yeah. How does that feel to know you made history?
Sherri, Zoe Lochran, Sylvia Garcia, and myself were the first women, period, to serve as impeachment managers. I was only the fourth African-American woman to even speak on the Senate floor. I didn't ask for the position. When people asked me about it, I said, look, you know, this is such a critical time for our nation. It's such a critical time to hold the president accountable. The speaker needs to have the latitude to select who she believes makes the best team. And so when she called me to her office, I got to tell you, at first I was thinking, it's like being called to the principal's office, right? It's like, what did she find out? How did you know what I did? But when I went, she said to me something to the effect of, look, I hadn't heard from you. Are you interested in being an impeachment manager? And I said to her that, look, Speaker, you should have the lead way to select who you believe is the best team. I said that as I have served on judiciary and served on Intel, the two committees with jurisdiction, I've helped to advance the ball down the field pretty far. If I don't get to take it into the end zone, I'm okay with that. And she said, look, I want you to be a manager. And I said, yes, ma'am, I'm on.
And you took it on.
Let me tell you something. When I think about my upbringing, as I've already shared with you, what an honor it is to be one of 7 people out of 435 possibilities to be chosen to uphold our Constitution, to defend the rule of law, and to protect our republic. That is so critical, right? And so it was an awesome responsibility. I was so honored to share that space with our chairman of the Democratic Caucus, Hakeem Jeffries from New York. And look, we were determined. We didn't know how it was going to turn out. Look, we had some ideas, but our role was to do what we were sent there to do, and that was to present the best case possible about the president's abuse of power and then his efforts to try to obstruct our investigation into his abuse of power. So look, I think we left no stones unturned. I think we presented the best case possible. The rest was up to the Senate. We know what they did.
Yeah, your hands were pretty tied at that point.
Yeah, and you know what? But I feel good about the case that we were able to present. You know, we can't control the outcome. We can control the case that we presented. And I think we did an exceptional job. I was honored to be a part of it. And, you know, when I look at what's going on now and what's not happening with our response to COVID-19,
yes.
I got to admit, Sherri, every day I think about the Senate. And I have to say to myself, we might have had a better response if you all done the right thing in terms of holding the president accountable. But we're moving forward.
Well, Congresswoman Deming, so now we're at this point because the response was not, it didn't happen when it should have happened. Now everybody's,
right.
We're playing catch up to the detriment of everyone who lives here. But what are we doing now? Some people are opening up, especially your husband. He's mayor of Orlando.
He is.
Sherri Deming.
Orange County.
And now, I mean, this is something my son is happy about because they have ruled the WWE as essential. My son is in hog heaven.
Don't even bring that up.
But I'm sitting here going, how the heck that happened? Please tell us what are we supposed to, where's the silver lining in this? Of the self-isolation, this COVID, people are now opening up different parts. I don't think we're ready, but I know the businesses have to come back.
Look, I agree with you. This has been a tough time, right? And I hear every day from small business owners, those mom and pop businesses.
Yes.
That's struggling. I hear every day from people who not getting a paycheck, can't access the Florida unemployment benefits website, and they're hurting. I get it. There's no one who wants to see us go back to business as normal or as usual than I do. But Sherri, we have to do it in a safe and strategic way. It would be a travesty to open up too quickly and lose all of the progress.
The momentum, yes.
The momentum that we've been able to gain, right? You know why cases are going down in some areas? They're going down because of social distancing. They're going down because people are wearing masks. They're going down because people are listening to the healthcare officials, right? And so, you know, our governor here in Florida, look, he's good friends with the president. I'm sure you saw the images where during spring break, the kids were partying like
on the beaches,
1999 on the beaches, not practicing social distancing. The governor had complete control to stop that. Look, I want to get back to business as usual. I believe, based on scientific data, we're not quite ready. Every day, this is something that we're monitoring, though. But we got to be smart. We can't listen to, this is not a political issue. This is
Right.
a public health crisis, which means we have to listen to public health officials. And they say we're not ready.
Is this something that you're fighting for us to stay home a little bit longer?
It really is. And look, you know, it's tough, but we're not quite ready. We need to continue to social distance. We need to, when we go out for essential issues, whether it's grocery shopping to pick up prescriptions or whatever, we need to make sure we're wearing masks, we're wearing gloves, we're practicing the 6-foot rule. But we're not quite ready to, I think, venture back into malls and businesses and restaurants.
So this brings me to this question about the stimulus check. I know people are getting their stimulus checks. They're being put into their bank accounts. But Congresswoman Demings, I'm hearing over here that people have to pay, they got to pay the money back. Is that true?
That is not true, Sherri. And look, you know, in the CARES One package, our number one goal was to stop the bleeding. People were hurting. They didn't expect this. Nobody planned COVID-19. So our number one goal was to put money, we felt, to help people, was to put money into their pockets, into their bank accounts. And so the direct cash payments was a good way to do that. I know there's been a lot of rumors out there, and look, I think a lot of those rumors are the result of people just being afraid and worried and concerned. But no, they do not have to pay the money back. No, this is not an advancement on their taxes or their IRS refunds. None of those things are true. Those cash payments, which were $1,200 for an individual, $2,400 for a couple, $500 for every dependent child in the home, $500 for disabled adults who might be claimed as dependents in your home. That money does not have to be paid back. And of course, we're working now for the next relief package to just try to figure out, what we know that people are still hurting. We know that small businesses are still hurting. We're concerned about our hospital and healthcare workers' capacity. You've seen the absolute amazing job. You talk about stepping up in times of crisis, cream rising to the top. Our doctors, our nurses, our supportive workers in the healthcare industry have done a phenomenal job. And so we have to make sure that they have the resources, like scrambling for personal protective equipment in the greatest country in the world is simply ridiculous. We have to make sure that we continue to fight for them so they'll have the support that they need, the equipment that they need to continue to save lives, protect lives, and keep us healthy and safe.
Okay, can I cast my vote right now? I'm sorry, I need to cast my vote for Biden Deming. Now, how do you feel that your name is being bandied about as a possible vice presidential pick, as a possible Supreme Court justice? Is that any kind of intimidating to you?
Sherri, it's really not for me because, look, I believe that I will be exactly where God wants me to be.
Ooh!
I'm not worried about it. I'm not overthinking it. I'm not sweating it. I take it very seriously, but I take it no more seriously than I've taken every job in public service that I've had. The people deserve for me to do the best job that I can do. And wherever God wants me to be, whatever God wants me to do, that's exactly where I will end up. And so to have my name called as like I said, a black girl who grew up in the South, grew up the daughter of a maid and a janitor, to have my name called as a possible vice presidential candidate, that's the kind of opportunity that I'm working for my children, my grandchildren, and for future generations to come, and other people's children and grandchildren. And I will continue to work hard, whether it's me or not. I hope America understands that you have a public servant who's dedicated and committed to serving you, and I will continue to do that.
how important is it? You know, we have so many people who are saying my vote doesn't count. Nobody's for us. And I'm talking as a Black woman. Nobody's for us. Nobody's doing anything for us. So why the heck should I go out and vote? What would you say to those folks?
What I would say was, number one, I understand your frustration. I understand why you're discouraged. Look, in Florida, we passed an amendment for allowing convicted felons who had paid their dues to have the right to vote. We're talking about 1.4 million people. We're in a lawsuit right now in Florida, trying to push back, if you will, obstacles that are being put in the way for those persons to be able to vote. I would say this is a fight that we should be used to. This is a fight that we know. And Black women have just been phenomenal.
Oh, when we come together.
Let me tell you something. When we come together, you better get out of the way, because we're unstoppable. We're unmovable. We understand that who we select or elect as our leaders directly impacts us and our families. So Black men and women, when we vote, we make a difference. When we vote, our candidates win. And so voter suppression, you know what? I'm not intimidated by it. And I should say to others, don't be intimidated by it. Be expected. But as the speaker says, we don't agonize, we organize. And if we look back throughout our history in this country, from Harriet Tubman to Rosa Parks to Shirley Chisholm to Dr. King and others, Elijah Cummings, who I celebrate his life, we have been fighting to get our place in history. And so this is nothing new. The best way to show those who try to intimidate us, the best way to show those who try to obstruct our power at the polls is to get out and vote. And I just believe after 4 years, almost 4, of what we have witnessed, after Barack Obama and Michelle Obama, we ought to be motivated more now than ever to press our way to the polls and exercise our right to vote. One of the things we are fighting for in our legislation is vote by mail. Look, we certainly hope by come election day in November that we are well past COVID-19 and that we are well ready to go back to some semblance of normalcy. But if we're not, we're trying to get vote by mail passed with no conditions, where every person can submit their ballot, that the postage is prepaid, that you can look. Voting is a basic right. And so we're trying to get vote by mail for everybody, not just in Florida, but all across this nation. And that is something that we're fighting for. We're continuing to fight for. And look, when you put up obstacles for African Americans, we just go around you. And we will continue to do that. Because the person in the White House, the person in the State House, the person in Congress, the decisions that they make directly impact us. And so we're going to show up and show out, regardless of what the rules are.
So Representative Demings, if you, and I'm a manifest, Vice President, Supreme Court Justice, specifically, do you have in mind what you would do for minorities in this country? Well, really, we're the majority, but we feel so disenfranchised.
We are so disenfranchised. And Sherri, you know, when we look at COVID-19 and we know that it has negatively impacted Black and brown communities more than any other. There are some people who try to come up with a lot of different theories why that is. Let me tell you what I believe. I believe historically, we as a nation have failed to deal with some injustices in Black and brown communities.
Yes.
Lack of education, lack of health care, lack of housing, lack of fair treatment. And those things have just manifested themselves and carried over into COVID-19. So until we begin to deal with some of the ghosts that continue to haunt us as the greatest nation in the world, we're not going to get to the place where we need to be. And so for me, you know, in any position, whether it's the current position or in the future, I will continue to fight to level the playing field, right? This is America. And I believe that membership should have its privileges, regardless whether you are male, female, black, brown, white, whatever zip code you live in, your family's last name, or how much money you have in the bank. Membership should have its privileges. And so we're looking to level the playing field to make sure we deal with, as I said, some of the injustices that have haunted us for generations. And we can do this. We talk about economic development. We talk about education. We talk about wages and incomes, good, decent paying jobs, and healthcare. Dr. King said, out of all of the injustices, the lack of healthcare is the most unjust because of the consequences. When people don't have adequate healthcare, they die. Yes. And we've got to make this right.
Congresswoman Demings, I have, unless there's something that you wanted to put forward before I ask you a couple personal questions, I'd like to give you the floor if there was something else that you wanted to let our viewers know, because I'll be posting this everywhere. Was there anything else that you wanted to
Sherri, I would just, a lot of times people try to make us feel, I mean, certainly in my lifetime, I've been made to feel that I wasn't smart enough, I wasn't good enough, I wasn't the right color, I wasn't the right gender, I didn't have enough money. My father didn't have his name on any businesses and wasn't well known. But the bottom line is we all have power. And when we know our power, voting levels the playing field. Whether you are a billionaire or you're like my mother and father who were domestic workers, when you go to the poll, your vote counts just like everybody else's. And so if we continue to work together to level the playing field, I would just say, believe in yourself, know your power, exercise your right to vote, because your vote is your voice. And if we're going to hold America to its promise, then we've got to elect people and re-elect people who get it and know that and understand that.
Thank you for that. And that leads me to another question, Representative Demings. Just as a woman, you've had to fight, you've had to play on the playground, which is normally reserved for the men, and you're saying know your power. There's so many people out here, and I'm gonna speak specifically as a woman. How do you tap into that power? Because a lot of us feel like, am I enough? Who's gonna want to hear me, little old me, speak? How do you tap into that power? Because you were on the impeachment committee, you were head to go in front of those people who do have those big degrees, who do have those titles, who do have the money. How do you stop that voice that says you're just a little black girl from the South?
Sherri, I was the only non-lawyer on the impeachment team. Now just think about my background, and then being the only non-lawyer. I remember at the police department when I wanted to be promoted, and you know, I was promoted through the ranks. I served as a sergeant, lieutenant, captain, deputy chief, and chief of police. And I remember we had a chief who shall remain nameless, but he was a different kind of guy, I'll say that. And he was more, I think, more comfortable with promoting people who looked like him. And I remember making an appointment, and I went to his office and I said to him, don't put me over in this bucket for when you need to promote a woman or when you feel like you need to promote an African American. Put me in the bucket with everybody you've got. Put me in the bucket with everybody, all the white males and everybody else that you have. And I guarantee you, I will hold my own. Because see, the system sometimes is set up to make, you know, we start thinking, oh, they're going to promote a woman or they're going to promote an African American. So I need to fight against my people that look like me to be recognized. Oh, no. Don't hold me for that special promotion or position. Put me in with everybody. Put me in with the best that you think you have, and I'll hold my own. And Sherri, that's self-talk every day. And when the world tells us we're not smart enough, we're not the right color, we don't know enough, we don't know the right people, we have to tell ourselves, I'm more than a conqueror. No weapon formed against me shall prosper.
Ooh.
God created me exactly the way he wanted me to be. He made me special with my own given strengths and talents. He could have had a choice, but he made me a black woman with kinky hair. He made me the size and the color that I am. And we have to believe that God is smart enough to give us the talent, skills, and abilities that we need for any challenge. And that's what I told myself every day at the police department. And you can imagine it was not easy. That's what I tell myself every day in Congress when things get a little rough. And regardless of what my future holds, Sherri, that's what I will tell myself as well. That God made me exactly the way he wanted me to be, with all the attitude that I have. And I trust him. And because I trust him, I trust me.
Woo! Oh my goodness. This leads me to my next question. I love women. I can't exist, Congresswoman, without my girlfriends.
Oh yeah.
How do you feel about what are your relationships with your girlfriends? Who are your girlfriends that you come to when they gotta lift you up or put you in check?
Let me tell you, my best friend, her name is Terrell. And Terrell is the person that, and we've been friends for years. And Terrell is the person that will say to me, she calls me Lovey.
Mm-hmm.
And she'll say to me, now, Lovey, don't do that. Lovey, don't wear that. Lovey, don't say. And you know what, Sherri? Sometimes I'm mad at her. But what I know is she has my best interests at heart. She loves me. And I love her. I trust her. And I have girlfriends. Look, I'm my husband, you've already mentioned him. He's the mayor of Orange County. And God bless me. I wanted a little girl, but God gave me 3 sons and 4 granddaughters. But there's nothing like your girlfriends, right? When you can share experiences, you can share the heart, you can encourage each other, you can pray for each other, you can curse with them, you can pray with them, all in the same meeting if you have to. And having people who have my back and love me just as I am, with all my strengths and my weaknesses, is such a blessing. So to everyone out there with your girlfriends, now you can't have a whole lot of them, but that circle that is around you, who you know love you through thick and thin, have your back, and will tell you what's best for you even when you don't want to hear it. Cling to them and hold tight to them. They're everything.
Now, how long have you been married?
We've been married 32 years.
All right, so 32 years. You have some wisdom here.
Let me give you some.
You're a very strong woman. You know what you want. You're on the path. You're on an amazing path that God has set you on. Your husband is very busy. You're very, very busy. How, as a very powerful woman who, I'm like that, I got a mouth on me. How do you now go home to your husband and become a wife?
Sherri, let me tell you something. 32 years is a long time. And I met my husband at the police department. It was so funny. I had a roommate. She and I went through the academy together, and we were like, we'll never date police officers, and we'll never certainly marry police officers. And but let me say this. I married the only one that I dated. But I got to tell you this quick story. When I met my husband, I was a rookie patrol officer, and he was a detective. And we had a mutual case together, and we disagreed about how that case should be handled. Now, I didn't really know him that well. I'd seen him around the department. And I'd heard from my sergeant at the time that he had a problem with how I handled the case. And so I said, what? It really? So I marched up to his office, the detective, and I basically told him, I said, look, maybe you have forgotten what it's like to do real police work and work hard.
No, you didn't say that.
Yeah, I did.
Did your neck move a little?
It did. And I had my hands on my hips. And I said, maybe you have forgotten. I said, but let me remind you that, you know, we're in patrol and we're the ones doing the real work. And if you have a problem with my case, I don't have a problem with my case. And then I marched off and just walked away. And he later told me, he never said a word, which was so funny, but he later said, like, who is that big mouth, skinny girl? Who does she think she is? But I am sure, Sherri, that's exactly when he fell in love with me, right? And so, you know, we both have been in the same profession. We both share a lot of the same beliefs and values. We both love our community. We're both public servants. We have had the opportunity. He served as a sheriff when I was the police chief. We were able to bounce things off of each other by, you know, sharing about what was going on in our different departments. And we just have a great, wonderful relationship. I love him. I love his family, and they love me too. So what a blessing that is. And so we have made it work. Communication is so important, whether it's good communication or you're upset, just never end the day. You know, that scripture that says, you know, don't go to bed angry. It's so true. You know,
so you don't go to bed angry. You don't go to bed.
When you look at the bigger problems, you know, some of the things we are upset about, it's mostly me, I admit that, they don't really matter. And we have to put things into perspective, right? And we have to remember what I say to other couples and groups that I've talked to. Remember what brought you together in the first place. You may get older, you might gain a few more pounds, but those things that brought you together in the first place, they don't change. And when you're in trouble, go back to that. Right? When you couldn't eat or sleep without talking to each other or seeing each other and celebrating each other's success. And my husband just shakes his head when I start running my mouth and just going on and on. He's just like, there she goes. That's it. You know, and he says, this is what he says too. Thank God there's only one girl in our household. He says, thank God there's not room for two. And he's probably right. But, you know, if we just remember all the good things, the good times, you know, when the two hearts and spirits met, it'll help carry you over the tough, rough times.
What's the perfect date night for you and your husband?
You know, when he was the sheriff and I was the police chief, we used to love to go out and eat. And we found ourselves so busy that we were skipping meals, right? And what I realized was everything that got on our calendars, we would do. Mm-hmm. If it was on our calendar, we would keep that commitment. So we started scheduling date night on Thursday nights so we could go out and just have a great meal together. And many, many years later, we still do that. Now, of course, we can't do it right now because of what's going on with COVID-19, but we still celebrate date night. And I think often about, you know, every time you take a flight, Sherri, what do they tell you? Put your mask on first. Mm-hmm. And sometimes I remember the first time I heard that, it sounded so selfish, like, but you can't help anybody else unless you take care of yourself. And so I realized that where my husband and I were out saving the world, it was important that we made time for ourselves. Just one night out of 7 nights, let's just reserve one that we never compromise for us. And we've been true to that. And believe me, it's carried us for 32 years. And I expect that it will carry us for many, many more.
Congresswoman Demings, I know you have so much to do. I'm so thankful to you that you took some time out of your very busy day to talk to me and talk to my listeners. And we so appreciate you. We got a shout out from the 10th Ward over in Florida. They are so proud of you. And we support you. And we will be out. And I'm going to be on my knees praying. Vice presidential pick, Supreme Court Justice. Biden Deming. So thank you so much. I know you just have, if you want to just leave any last words.
Well, Sherri, let me say this as we're talking about celebrating people. I celebrate you.
Thank
You
you.
are a phenomenal sister, an Emmy award winning sister who has shared her time and talent with the world. When Black girls, little girls who are wondering how they're going to make it, what their future going to be like, you have given them an example to look at you and be hopeful. And so I just thank you for giving me this opportunity. I don't take you for granted. You were wonderful and kind enough to join the Congressional Black Caucus during our annual leadership conference. And it just meant the world to me. It meant the world to the other members, and our guests celebrated you. And so we celebrate you. And I just thank you for this opportunity. And I would say to you, just keep on keeping on and keep up the good work, because we need to hear your voice. It's powerful.
Well, we love you and support you, and I'll be stumping for you. I'm going to take a leave from my job, and I'm there for you, anything you need. So thank you so much, Congresswoman Demings.
You take care.
You too.
Good night.
Night.